Dan,
We
right?
sparred hundreds of rounds, innit?
You cracked him, Daniel. So you know you can hurt him.
It's sparring. Now we're fighting. It's different, you know.
I think it's different.
Ready to go. Move on now. We can move on now.
Every boxer is excited about the upcoming fight between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. There will be a fight between the knockout artists who have something to show. We expect the night to be very exciting. Both fighters have lost in the past, but they have also made amazing comebacks. With just a few hours to go, the pros have already said who they think will win. What makes this fight intriguing is how closely matched the two seem to be in terms of power.
He's 6'6", he's about 18 stone. What would you expect in him? Not to look big and strong? I mean, you know, like he's dangerous. People looking for ways to kind of talk up Daniel Dubois' chances. You don't need to.
Tim Tszyu sees this fight as a crucial turning point for both Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. He acknowledges that both fighters have had their share of ups and downs in their careers, especially after suffering damaging defeats. Both fighters suffered damaging defeats and were bashed by critics. However, both deserve credit for digging down deep and resurrecting their careers. Tszyu said, Joshua, after losing twice to Alexander Usyk, made big changes to his team and strategy. He's gone through several trainers before finally settling with Ben Davidson, which shows his willingness to adapt. On the other hand, Tszyu sees this as an important factor in Joshua's revival. Dubois had also faced doubts about his ability, especially after an eye injury in his fight against Joe Joyce. However, Tszyu points out that Dubois' victory over Yerl Miller and his upset win against Filip Hrgović it helped him get back into heavyweight, and he thinks this fight will be tactical at first because both fighters are powerful and wary of each other's knockout power. This is another step up for Dubois. I think this fight between the heavyweights is very interesting. Whoever lands first wins. They may well go on to win. As you explained, he expects that the fight will begin as a battle of the jabs, with both men trying to establish their range and control the pace. While he acknowledges Dubois' power and promises Tszyu gives the edge to Joshua because of his experience in big events. Joshua has fought in front of massive crowds and grand stages, and this experience, according to Tszyu, will play a key role. I've been very impressed with both men's forms, but I feel Joshua is at a higher level, plus his experience at fighting in big events will stand him in excellent stead. As you added, he believes that Joshua will start to take control of the fight by the midway point and will eventually break down, predicting a stoppage around the 9th round. By the midway point, I expect Joshua to be in the ascendancy and break down Dubois in around 9 rounds for the stoppage win.
Or awkward figure. The only time we've really seen that, I thought, was when he was just waiting for the face-off on Monday, but since then...
This view is also shared by Deontay Wilder. Wilder sees this fight as one that will almost certainly end inside the distance due to both fighters' punching power and their less than stellar chins given the prodigious records in their fragile chins. Dubois Joshua is almost sure to end inside the distance. Wilder said he's pointing out that while both fighters can hit hard, they have both been hurt before, which makes this fight particularly exciting. Wilder, who is known for his own knockout power, has been closely watching Joshua's recent performances. He mentions Joshua's fights against Robert Helenius, Otto Wallin, and Francis Ngannou as evidence that Joshua has found a balance between caution and aggression despite having been shaken and stopped in the past. Joshua's chin has held up well in recent fights, while dub remains an open question, Wilder said, highlighting the difference between the two fighters, that he seems to think that Joshua's chin has improved while dues remain. Wilder also sees Joshua's height and reach as big advantages in this fight, suggesting that Joshua doesn't need to take as many risks to get his shots off with his height and reach advantages. AJ also doesn't have to take as many risks to be effective. Wilder explained that he thinks that the pace of the fight will be controlled by Joshua, and Dubois may struggle to find the openings he needs to land his power shots. Wilder doesn't think Dubois has the experience to deal with Joshua's more controlled. For his pick, Wilder believes that Joshua's size, experience, and smart boxing will result in a knockout victory around the 9th round. The pace will be modest, but the guess is that Joshua's benefits in size and experience will result in a TKO victory. Wilder concluded, making it clear that while Dubois is dangerous, Joshua's overall skills will win. And another interesting view is from Usyk. Alexander Usyk has fought Joshua twice, so his insight into this fight comes from personal experience. Although he's caused Joshua problems in the past, Usyk doesn't see Dubois being able to do the same. He thinks Joshua will stop Dubois probably around the 8th round. Joshua is long overdue for a career-threatening upset, but this is not going to be that night, Usyk said, suggesting that while Joshua is weak, Dubois isn't the fighter to capitalize on that. Usyk highlights the fact that both fighters are vulnerable, which could make for a dramatic and unpredictable fight. As good as they are, they're both very vulnerable and have questionable defenses. Their chins have been checked already, and their punching power is more than enough to expect a stoppage from either one. Usyk explained that he sees both fighters as having enough firepower to stop each other, but he also points out that Joshua's more cautious approach to fights will serve him well in this matchup. One of the key elements that Usyk focuses on is Dubois' stamina. He believes that if Joshua makes Dubois miss enough punches, he will tire quickly. This could allow Joshua to lead the fight. Joshua's more cautious approach and slow starts will make it difficult for Dubois to hit with power early on. And just as it happens with heavy punchers, Dubois will get worn out quickly if Joshua manages to make him miss enough punches. This observation shows Usyk's understanding of how Joshua's patience and defensive skills can frustrate an opponent like Dubois, who relies on landing big shots. According to Usyk,
it's not ballet, it's not dance, it's Daniel. Julian.
Bro. We see another fall.
Usyk thinks that while a decision win for Joshua is a safe bet, he's predicting a stoppage. A decision for Joshua is the smart money bet, but I'll go with the stoppage anyway. Usyk concluded that he expects Joshua to weather Dubois' early aggression and eventually take advantage of Dubois' fatigue, resulting in a knockout before the final bell. Andy Ruiz Jr., the man who famously dethroned Anthony Joshua in 2019, knows better than most what it's like to be in the ring with him. Ruiz acknowledges Daniel Dubois' recent accomplishments but doesn't see a realistic way for Dubois to win against Joshua. I give Daniel Dubois credit for scoring solid wins after suffering his 2 losses, but I don't see a route to victory against Anthony Joshua, who holds every advantage. Ruiz explained Dubois has bounced back from defeats, including a major eye injury in his fight against Joe Joyce. But according to Ruiz, those victories don't change the reality of this matchup. Ruiz's viewpoint is rooted in the physical and technical differences between the two fighters. Joshua, with his longer reach, higher height, and overall superior agility, seems to have all the tools to keep Dubois at bay for Ruiz. The real issue lies in Dubois' speed, or rather his lack thereof. The bottom line is that Dubois lacks the speed both of hand and foot to trouble Joshua on defense, nor the defense to prevent Joshua from landing regularly. Ruiz added that this isn't just a minor observation. Speed is important at the elite level, and Ruiz emphasizes that Dubois may not be quick enough to avoid Joshua's sharp punches. Ruiz's thoughts on the fight boil down to how much damage Dubois can endure. It's not a question of whether Dubois has a chance to win in Ruiz's eyes, but how long he can last before the referee or his corner steps in. I believe it comes down to how much punishment Dubois can absorb, not whether he has a chance to win. Boy said his prediction is for a stoppage somewhere around the 7th round, depending on how aggressive Joshua decides to be. Ruiz knows firsthand what it's like to take Joshua's power shots, and his assessment reflects a firm belief that Dubois won't be able to withstand them for long. My estimation is that it will be around 8 rounds depending on Joshua's attacking mentality, probably earlier with the corner of Dubois or the referee stepping in to stop the fight, but the picks don't end there. Luis Ortiz has faced many dangerous heavyweights in his career, and he understands the tactical nature of the sport. Ortiz is particularly excited about the Joshua vs. Dubois matchup because both fighters have been on the comeback trail after suffering defeats to Alexander Usyk, the current heavyweight king. However, Ortiz believes Joshua holds a clear edge going into this fight. I love this matchup. Both fighters have suffered recent defeats to the legitimate heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk but have gone on impressive runs since, Ortiz said, noting that both fighters have done well to rebuild themselves. One of the key advantages Ortiz sees in Joshua is his size and reach at 6'6" and within 82 in reach. Joshua has the physical tools to control the fight from a distance. Joshua is a taller, longer fighter with more overall experience. I believe he will utilize those attributes in box intelligently from the outside early on. Ortiz said Joshua's ability to maintain range, use his jab effectively, and move in and out of danger will be critical in keeping Dubois from finding his rhythm. Ortiz knows that Dubois will need to take risks to disrupt Joshua's game plan, but he questions whether Dubois has the tactical skills to do so. For Ortiz, this fight is less about explosive exchanges and more about Joshua's ability to manage the pace. The onus will be on Dubois to wreck AJ's game plan. This bout will mostly be fought at a technical pace with occasional hard exchanges in the center of the ring. Ortiz explained he sees Dubois having some success in spurts, but Joshua's experience and composure in the ring will make the difference. Joshua has been in high-pressure fights before, and Ortiz thinks that his ability to stay calm and stick to his strategy will ultimately earn him the win. Ortiz's prediction leans towards a decision win for Joshua, although he doesn't rule out a late stoppage. Although I feel Dub will have his moments, Joshua's experience will see him through. Give me Joshua by majority decision, possible late TKO. Ortiz concluded he's confident that Joshua's boxing IQ and conditioning will allow him to control the fight from start to finish even if Dubois lands a few major punches along the way. Joe Joyce has personal experience with Daniel Dubois, having defeated him in 2020 with a stunning jab that led to Dubois's eye injury and eventual knockout. Joyce has been keeping a close eye on Dubois's progress since then and also has a unique insight into what it takes to beat him. For Joyce, the key to this fight is Joshua's renewed confidence. It looks as if Joshua's confidence has been restored, which is bad news for Dan Dubois, whose notable power is offset by a shaky defense. Joyce remarked Joshua's confidence has been a talking point ever since his back-to-back losses to USK, but his recent wins have shown a fighter who is starting to regain his self-assurance. Joyce points to Joshua's latest performance against Francis Ngannou as a prime example of what makes him so dangerous, while Ngannou is more known for his MMA career. Against Francis Ngannou, Joshua's ability to deal with the power of such a dangerous puncher stood out to Joyce. Joshua threw well-executed combinations, one after another, all dangerous. Joyce said it wasn't just Joshua's power that impressed Joyce, but his ability to string together combinations that constantly hurt his opponent when it comes to Dubois. Joyce gives him credit for his power, but he sees a major flaw in his defense. Dubois has heavy hands, but he's also been vulnerable to counterpunches, as shown in his fight with Joyce. Perhaps Dubois hits a big shot early, but that might be his only chance. In Joyce's eyes, he doesn't believe Dubois has the defense or ring IQ to deal with Joshua's combos over the course of a long fight. Dubois is a one-dimensional fighter who relies heavily on his power, and Joshua will eventually take advantage of that. Joyce predicts that Joshua will start to break Dubois down in the middle rounds with a series of well-placed combinations, setting him up for a knockout in the 8th round. Expect Joshua to weaken Dubois midway through the fight with combos, setting him up for a right hook that will finish him later. Joyce predicted based on his own experience with Dubois. Joyce is sure that Joshua has the tools to capitalize on Dubois's defensive weaknesses and score a knockout. Victory before the fight hits the later rounds. David White, known for his rugged style and experience in the heavyweight division, offered a unique perspective on the Anthony Joshua vs. Daniel Dubois fight. While many may see Joshua as the clear favorite, White thinks Dubois could pull off an upset from the moment the fight was announced. White found it intriguing. "I liked this fight from the moment it was announced." He added that Joshua, as a former two-time heavyweight champion, has a lot of motivation. Becoming a 3-time heavyweight world champion would place him among the legends of the sport. But according to White, that might not be enough. White believes that Dubois, despite being written off by some, has the potential to surprise Joshua with his skill set. Will it be enough to stop a young, hungry, fearless Dubois who isn't given enough credit for his fighting IQ? White asked. This is where his analysis gets interesting. While many see Dubois as just a power puncher, White emphasizes that the younger fighter has a higher boxing IQ than most. Give him credit, for he believes that Joshua could actually bring out the best in Dubois, making the fight even more competitive in terms of technique. White pointed out something important about Joshua's current state. "We have seen the best of AJ, who these days loses his shape badly once he unloads, whereas Dubois holds his shape a lot better." White noted this as a crucial comment. Joshua at times has shown a tendency to become disorganized when he throws power punches, leaving himself vulnerable to counters. On the other hand, Dubois has shown improvement in his ability to maintain his form and defense even when going on the offensive. White sees this as a critical advantage for Dubois, especially since he has been showing consistent improvement in his recent fights. White's prediction is bold. Dub will win by TKO in the 10th round. He believes that Dubois will overwhelm Joshua with more head and lateral movement, as well as a higher work rate. I think with a lot more head and lateral movement from Dubois, his work rate will be too much for AJ, who will simply not be able to deal. White predicted if Dubois can follow this game plan. White thinks he has the tools to stop Joshua inside 10 rounds. Derek Chisora, a batter-tested heavyweight who has shared the ring with some of the best, anticipates a more tactical fight between the two knockout artists. When the heavy hitters face off, the natural assumption is that it will be a quick and brutal affair. However, Chisora believes the fight will be more technical than people expect. There's the tendency to think the fight will be over in a hurry. However, what often happens in a puncher versus puncher matchup is that both men respect each other's power so much that a tactical battle transpires. Chisora explained that this insight is important because both Joshua and Dubois have the ability to end a fight with a single punch, which may lead them to be more cautious. Chisora has been pleased with Joshua's development since teaming up with trainer Ben Davidson and boxing coach Li Wei. He credits them with refining Joshua's style into something more economical and patient. Since teaming up with trainer Ben Davidson and boxing coach Li Wei, Joshua has gradually grown into an economical, patient, and highly effective boxer-puncher. Chisora pointed to Joshua's performance against Otto Wallin as a prime example of this, in which Joshua methodically broke Wallin down before causing him to quit on his stool. In Cora's eyes, this version of Joshua, one that doesn't waste punches, is dangerous for Dubois.
Punch, and he's thick, and he's strong, and he has all of those things. He has to get close to Joshua to land on, and if he lands on Joshua, he can hurt him, no doubt about it. But to get close to him, you got to go through a bad neighborhood, and you know what happens when you go through a bad neighborhood? Sometimes you could get mugged, you know?
Duran notes Dubois' improvement since his loss to Joe Joyce. He still sees flaws in Dubois' defense. There are holes in the IBF champ's defenses, and that means trouble against a puncher like AJ. According to Chisora, Joshua's accuracy and ability to counterpunch will be critical in exploiting those defensive lapses. As Chisora noted, Joshua has more tools in his arsenal, and that versatility will help him break Dubois down over time. He believes Joshua is forcing a late stoppage, likely around the 10th round. Well, what do you think? Leave your comments below and like and subscribe for updates.